Cetshwayo, sensing there were vast numbers of men absent, asked where the rest of his regiments were. When told that they were dead, the king prohibited his people from the traditional celebrations following such a victory. Instead, he called for a time of mourning and is quoted as saying, "A spear has been thrust into the belly of our nation. There are not enough tears to mourn the dead."
Born on December 21st of 1847 in Box Hill near Plymouth, John Rouse Marriott Chard was one of 7 children of William Wheaton Chard and his wife Jane Remicombe. Now, like his older brother William, John attended a military academy after receiving his basic education, his hopes being to serve as a British officer, and this training was at the Royal Military Academy at Woolwich. In 1868, Chard received a commission as a lieutenant in the Royal Engineers, and for the next 2 years he trained at Chatham at the Royal School of Military Engineering. His first post was in Bermuda in 1870, where he was ordered to construct fortifications at the naval dockyard near Hamilton. After completing the project, he was next stationed in Malta, where he assisted with the improvement of the island's sea defenses. And he returned to England in 1876, where he was assigned to the 5th Company of Royal Engineers. In December of 1878, the 5th Company were sent to the colony of Natal, where they were to assist in maintaining the punts, which were ferries used to aid troops crossing the Buffalo River, which formed the border between Natal and Zululand. Now, Chard's unit was partially overseen by Major Henry Spaulding, who commanded the 2nd Battalion, 24th Regiment of Foot, and the 3rd Natal Native Contingent in an improvised garrison at a mission station at Rorke's Drift. And on the 22nd of January, Chard's group arrived and set up a small camp near the Buffalo River Ferry. Several days earlier, British General Lord Chelmsford had led a column of invading forces across that very same ferry and on into Zululand, where they eventually were attempting to attack Zulu King Cetshwayo's royal kraal at Ulundi. Now, on the morning of the 22nd of January, Chelmsford called on Chard's sappers to come to his camp at Isandlwana. Now, when they arrived at the camp, Chard was informed that only his men were needed, and he should return to Rorke's Drift. And on his way back, he witnessed a large Zulu force approaching, and he informed Spaulding when he arrived at the drift at 1 p.m. Now, Spaulding immediately took a small force and set out to find a British relief column that he thought was in the area, and he left Chard in command of the mission station. Now, Chard was known for being a remarkably low-key guy, and he saw that the station seemed to be holding up well on its own, so he returned back to his camp by the ferry. However, he was soon roused by 2 Natal Native Contingent officers who arrived on horseback from Isandlwana, informing him of the annihilation of most of the British troops that had just occurred there. Chard then quickly returned to the mission station, where he found second-in-command Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead and Assistant Commissary James Dalton conversing on how to best handle the impending threat. And it was decided to set up a defensive barrier, with Chard suggesting that they build a biscuit box barrier through the middle of the compound to provide a fallback area should the perimeter fail. Now, shortly thereafter, 4,000 Zulus descended. And Chard's foresight did pay off, as the perimeter was breached and the defenders had to fall back behind the barricade. Now, once inside this area, Chard ordered his men to build a pyramid of mealie bags to serve as a redoubt, and this would shelter the wounded and give them a place to take a final stand. Fighting continued throughout the evening and night, but by early the next morning, the Zulus broke off the attack. 351 Zulus had been killed, and the British suffered 17 fatalities and 10 seriously wounded. Now, Chard remained at Rorke's Drift for several weeks after the battle, where he oversaw the construction of a stone perimeter wall. And he finally left the drift after developing a fever and was forced to recuperate in Ladysmith. After that, he served under Colonel Evelyn Wood during the second invasion of Zululand. On July 16th, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, which is England's highest commendation for valor in battle. Now, jealousy and resentment from his superiors clouded much of his later service during the Anglo-Zulu War. Evelyn Wood was unimpressed by Chard's rather nonchalant demeanor, and he called him a useless officer and a dull, heavy man, scarcely able to do his regular work. Lieutenant General Sir Garnet Wolsey, who thought that the desperate defense of Rorke's Drift was merely a case of rats fighting for their lives which they could not otherwise save, was begrudgingly tasked with presenting Chard with his VC. And he complained bitterly of Chard as a more interesting or more stupid-looking fellow that I never saw. Chard returned to England in October, where he was hailed as a hero, and this culminated with a dinner with Queen Victoria, who was impressed with his rather low-key demeanor. and the Queen would correspond with him for the rest of his relatively short life. Over the next 2 decades, Chard was stationed in Cyprus and Singapore, and he eventually attained the rank of colonel in 1897. His last appointment was in Perth, Scotland, where years of heavy pipe smoking caught up with him. He was diagnosed with cancer of the tongue, and he died in Somerset in November of 1897. And the 49-year-old was buried in the churchyard of the Church of St. John the Baptist in Hatch, Beauchamp, Somerset. Now, Gonville Bromhead came from a military family. He was born in Versailles, France, on the 29th of August of 1845, and his father was Major Sir Edmund de Gonville Bromhead, a veteran of the Battle of Waterloo. His grandfather, Sir Gonville Bromhead, was a lieutenant general who fought the American Revolutionary War at the Battle of Saratoga, and his great-grandfather was Boardman Bromhead, who fought under Major General James Wolfe at Quebec. Now, young Gunny, as he was called, was educated at Magnus Grammar School in Newark-on-Trent. In 1867, his family purchased an ensign's commission for him, and he entered the 2nd Battalion, 24th Regiment of Foot, and he was promoted to lieutenant later that year. Now, Bromhead was a gifted athlete, but he was hampered by a progressive hearing loss and a rather unremarkable aptitude for leadership. He saw his first action in the British Cape Colonies in what's now South Africa in 1878, and there, while assaulting a native position, his commanding officer was wounded, and command briefly fell on his shoulders. Now, during Lord Chelmsford's first invasion of Zululand in January of 1879, Bromhead's company was ordered to stay behind and guard the mission station at Rorke's Drift, which was serving as a temporary supply depot and hospital. And there he was serving under Major Henry Spalding. Now, on the 22nd, Spalding set out to find a lost company of British reinforcements, leaving the station under the command of Engineer John Chard, with Bromhead as second in command. Now, after hearing that a large contingent of Zulu were on their way, Bromhead, Chard, and Acting Assistant Commissary James Dalton had a brief conference, and they decided that the best course of action was to erect a defensive perimeter and tough it out, rather than make a fighting retreat while simultaneously trying to transport all of the hospital soldiers that were at the drift. During the ensuing battle, Bromhead took a position at the front of the barricades, and beside him was Private Frederick Hitch, and they both fought with rifle and revolver while undergoing a sporadic rain of bullets from Zulu snipers. Now, at one point, Bromhead was nearly skewered when a Zulu warrior jumped the barricade, forcing Bromhead to brandish an empty rifle and force the Zulu back over the barricade. Shortly thereafter, Hitch was shot in the shoulder, and Bromhead dressed the wound and gave him his personal revolver so that Hitch could continue to shoot with his good arm. Like Chard, after the battle, Bromhead remained at the drift for several weeks, helping to build better fortifications, should the Zulu try to repeat an attack. And now it appears that during this period he suffered from some fairly severe post-traumatic stress, showing signs of depression and withdrawal. Major Francis Cleary, who was stationed with him, wrote, "The height of Bromhead's enjoyment seemed to be to sit all day on a stone on the ground, smoking a most uninviting-looking pipe. The only thing that seemed equal to moving him in any way was an allusion to the defense at Rorke's Drift, and this used to have a sort of electrical effect upon him, for he would jump up and off he would go. Not a word could be got out of him. When I told him he should send me an official report on the affair, it seemed to have a most distressing effect on him." And like Chard, Bromhead was the target of the petty jealousies and envy that have always plagued officer corps. The above-mentioned Cleary also wrote, "Reputations are being made and lost here in an almost comical fashion. Bromhead is a capital fellow at everything except soldiering." Lieutenant Henry Curling, who also served at Rorke's Drift after the battle, noted, "It's very amusing to read the accounts of Chard and Bromhead. Bromhead is a stupid old fellow, as deaf as a post. Is it not curious how some men are forced into notoriety?" However, on the 2nd of May, it was announced that as a result of the action, Bromhead had been promoted to captain and brevet major, and he was to be awarded the Victoria Cross. He soon returned to England, where he, along with Chard, were invited to dine with the Queen. Unfortunately, he was fishing in Ireland at the time, and by the time he heard of the invitation, the date had already gone by. But she did send him a picture of herself as a consolation. Bromhead went on to serve at Gibraltar and in India, and he saw action again in the Third Anglo-Burmese War in 1886 through 1888. In 1891, while stationed at Allahabad, India, he developed typhoid fever, and he died there on the 9th of February. And he's buried there in the new Cantonment Cemetery. Now, Zulu King Cetshwayo was not personally involved in the attack against Rorke's Drift, and in fact, he had forbidden his warriors to cross the Buffalo River and attack the station. However, his history often gets forgotten when talking about the Anglo-Zulu War, and I think that a brief biography is worth exploring. He was born sometime in 1826, the son of Zulu King Mapande and half-nephew of the Zulu King Shaka. Now, like most Zulu royalty, he came from an immense family of brothers, half-brothers, and cousins who were embroiled in intense and bloody rivalries. Now, his father would rule until 1872. Cetshwayo was already fighting his brothers in a civil war in 1856. and during that year he eliminated these rivals at the Battle of Nundakasuka. This led to him becoming the de facto ruler of Zululand, as his father was generally uninterested in leading. Now, during this time, Cetshwayo's rule was contentious, and he constantly struggled to retain power, often ordering brutal executions of his father's wives and their families. And he was a physically imposing man, standing around 6'7" and weighing in at a whopping 350 pounds. With Mponde's death in 1872, Cetshwayo could officially be crowned as king, and this was done on September the 1st by Sir Theophilus Shepstone, who was a British statesman who served as kind of an informal diplomat and advisor to the Zulu court. Though behind the scenes, Shepstone was quietly working against the Zulus in order to claim their lands for the British crown. Now, threatened by both the Boers and the British, Cetshwayo established a new kraal at Ulundi, which means the high place. He expanded his army, and he readopted the military tactics that were developed by Shaka. Cetshwayo was keen on arming his MPs with European firearms, though most of these were outdated muskets and muzzle-loading rifles. He banished European missionaries from his land, and he may have incited native populations outside of Zululand to rebel against the Boers in the Transvaal. In 1878, Sir Henry Bartle Frere, who was the British High Commissioner for the Cape Colony, cooked up a scheme to invade and claim Zululand as part of the crown. Now, this involved exaggerated charges that Zulu warriors were infringing on British lands to the south, and he sent an ultimatum that Cetshwayo disband his army or the British army would invade. Cetshwayo's response was measured and calm, and he knew that if he disbanded his army, he would be deposed, and either Zululand would be invaded by the British and Boer forces, or it would disintegrate into civil war. So his only choice was to muster his forces while also calling for peace. And he specifically called on his forces to not cross the Buffalo River and raid the British lands of Natal. Now, after the British invasion began, he continued to send messengers calling for peace, but both Frere and Chelmsford's political careers were at stake, and they depended on crushing the Zulu forces. Unfortunately for them, their hubris led to defeats at Isandlwana, Intobe, and Hlobane. However, Cetshwayo refused to compromise on taking offensive action against the invaders, and he missed the opportunity to fight back against Chelmsford's weakened forces. So in July of 1879, his royal corral was attacked and burned by the British, and he was sent fleeing. Now, the next month, he was captured, deposed, and exiled. At first, he was sent to Cape Town before being sent on to London in 1883. Then there he cut a rather distinctive figure. He was seen as a sympathetic person, with the public feeling that he'd been poorly treated by the representatives of the crown. Now, back in Zululand, the inevitable civil war did finally commence, with the chiefs fighting each other for supremacy. Now, the British government had more interest in exploiting the country's natural resources and cheap labor than they did in overseeing the area or intervening in the rivalries of the Zulu tribes. Finally, the crown attempted to reinstall Cetshwayo as king in 1883. However, this attempt quickly collapsed, and the former king was again forced to flee when attacked by rival chieftains. He eventually found refuge in Eshowe, where he died early the next year under somewhat suspicious circumstances. Alrighty, this week's game is Victoria Cross, the Battle of Rorke's Drift, and it was designed by Grant and Mike Wiley, and it was published by Worthington Games in 2004. Now, the map board of the game is divided into zones that are either lettered, which are inside the compound, or numbered, which are outside the compound. And the British counters can only be placed or moved into lettered zones, that is, they can't leave the compound. Now, the red cross, located in Zone G of the compound, is a zone where the British player can repair damaged units, and I'll describe this more later in the rules. Now, in zones that are outside of the buildings, both in and out of the compound, any number of units can stack. Interior zones, however, and those are L, M, N, and O of the hospital, G of the storehouse, and D of the final redoubt, may contain a maximum of 8 strength points total. Now, the storehouse roof, which is Zone H, is only open to British units, and it's limited to 8 strength points. Now, note that units can never enter a zone occupied by enemy units, the only exception to this being unaccompanied VP units. And Zulu units can move into zones occupied by a VP unit, and they'll immediately eliminate that unit. Now, there are 3 types of British units in the game: leader counters, VP counters, which represent sick non-combatants in the hospital, and regular counters. And regular counters have a number on them ranging from 1 to 4. The number on the top of the counter is the current strength point, or SP, of that counter. And when a counter loses SP due to combat, it's turned to represent its new strength point. If an encounter with an SP of 1 loses a strength point, it's eliminated. Now, there are 2 types of Zulu counters in the game: leaders and regular Zulu units. And Zulu units have a numeric value of 1 to 10, and these can be exchanged with other counters to change the number of physical counters on the board. For example, if a counter with 10 strength points loses a strength point, You would rotate the counter to a 5, and you would add a 4 counter, so you would have a total of 9 strength points. Now note that the British can't make this exchange with units. They retain all individual counters until they're eliminated or at the end of the game. And Zulu counters can be kept hidden from the British player in order to add an element of surprise to the game, while the British player can attempt to hide their leaders in a stack of units. Of course, hidden units are revealed when combat occurs. Finally, all leaders, British and Zulu, have a strength point of 1. To set the game up, the British player sets up first by placing 1 victory point counter in each of the lettered zones of the hospital. All other units, infantry and leaders, may begin in any lettered zone in the compound, including the hospital, following any zone limits. And setup counts as the British player's first movement during the first turn of the game. The Zulu player then sets up 90 strength points and 4 leaders in any of the outer zones at the edge of the map board. Up to 10 strength points that are stacked with a leader can move up to 1 additional zone with that leader. Now remember that the first zone entered on the edge of the map does count as a zone for movement cost determination. And like the British setup, the Zulu setup counts as the Zulu's first movement. The game consists of 16 turns, 8 day turns, and 8 night turns. And the sequence of play has quite a few phases. The first is the Rorke's Drift British replacement phase, where the British player adds replacements. The second is a British movement phase, where the British player can move any and all units following movement rules. This is followed by a Zulu move, where the Zulu player receives replacements and then can move any or all units following movement rules. This is followed by British fire combat. Next is the Zulu random fire phase. Next is the melee combat phase. Both players conduct simultaneous melee, and losses caused by melee combat are not taken until after both players have completed their melee attacks. Next is the British Bayonet Charge, followed by a Rorke's Drift hospital phase, where the Zulu player checks to see if a fire starts or spreads in the hospital, followed by a check for victory, and finally the end of the turn, where you move the game turn marker 1 space ahead. Let's start talking about replacements. Now, replacements are received by both sides every turn, and both occur directly before their respective moves. British replacements are special in that a British unit may go to the aid station at the storehouse, which is marked with a red cross in Zone 6, and during the replacement phase of that turn, the British player has 2 strength points that they can allocate to these units. Now, only a single strength point can be applied to a single counter. However, if there are 2 counters present, they could each be healed of 1 strength point of damage. Now, these strength points must be applied every turn that a unit is in the zone, and they don't accumulate from turn to turn. Thus, if no unit was in Zone G until the beginning of turn 3, it could heal 1 strength point, not 3. Now, obviously, this healing can only be applied to injured units, and a unit cannot exceed its maximum number of strength points. And finally, eliminated units can't be brought back as replacements. Surgeon Reynolds just can't resurrect the dead. Now, before the Zulu movement phase, the Zulu player can return and move units eliminated from a previous game turn, and you use the Zulu loss track to account for these losses. Now, they may do so up to a maximum total of 90 strength points, plus leaders on the board, and replacements are brought on into a zone along the edge of the board, and unless they're stacked with a leader, this counts as their movement for the turn. And the Zulu player is also free to hold replacements back during a turn and bring them on later, as long as they never exceed the 90 strength point limit. Now, during British movement, the British infantry can move into an adjacent zone, though they can't move across diagonals. And British leaders can move up to 2 zones in a turn, and can further move 4 strength points of British infantry with them, these 2 zones. They can use this enhanced movement to cross the internal walls within the compound, as well into or out of the storehouse, but they cannot use it to move into or out of the hospital. Now, victory point units cannot move on their own. They have to be stacked with another unit with at least the same number of strength points to move 1 zone. Thus, a stack of 2 victory point units would need to be accompanied by British infantry of at least 2 units. Now, leaders can move these units, but they can't use their enhanced movement to move the victory point units any further. So basically, a single leader can move 1 victory point unit 1 hex per turn. Further, a victory point unit cannot be moved by escorting infantry units until the Zulu player melees into a hospital zone or the hospital's on fire. Now, like British infantry, Zulu warriors can only move 1 zone, and like British leaders, Zulu leaders can move up to 10 strength points and themselves up to 2 zones. Now, like the British leaders, the Zulu leaders can't use their enhanced movement to move into buildings, but unlike British leaders, they cannot also cross any walls or buildings at the perimeter or inside the compound. Now, the Zulu player can also move units off the board, and these units can come back on any other zone of the board in the next turn, though the player must remember to never exceed that total limit of 90 strength points. In terms of fire combat, the British units can fire on Zulu units that are within range and line of sight. Now, fire is resolved on a zone-by-zone basis, with units in a zone firing on Zulus in another zone. And combat from zones can be resolved in any way that the British player wishes. However, each zone's fire attacks must be resolved before another zone's fire attacks are resolved. Now, more than one British unit can combine their attack on all of the Zulu units in another zone, or they can fire on separate units in different zones. However, a Zulu unit cannot be fired on by units in a single zone more than once in a turn. However, British units in another zone could fire on that Zulu unit that's been previously fired on when their turn comes around. Now, to resolve this type of combat, you add the number of strength points attacking and roll the number of dice, and then you check the range table to see which die rolls hit. For each successful hit, you deduct the number of strength points from the total Zulu strength points in that area, and the Zulu player gets to choose which counters take the loss of strength points. Also, note the number of strength points lost on the Zulu loss table, and if a unit loses its final strength points, it's eliminated. That number of strength points can be brought back in the next turn as replacements. Now, as with movement, range cannot be determined through diagonal zones, and during night turns, the British cannot fire 3 zones away, only 1 or 2. The numbers needed to hit, however, do remain the same. Now, up to 4 strength points of British units stacked with either Chard or Bromhead may also engage in volley fire, for a total of 5 strength points. And unlike normal fire, all of the British units in a zone must fire in a single adjacent Zulu zone. The advantage of volley fire is that the British units firing get 3 die roll per strength point instead of the usual 1. Now, there must be at least 4 strength points to engage in a volley, and they may not have already moved in that turn. And volley markers can be used on them during the movement phase as a reminder. Finally, British units may not make a volley fire over a wall or redoubt, which really limits this attack greatly. Now, line of sight rules in this game are generally pretty straightforward. Zones occupied by British friendly units and buildings block lines of sight. Also, British units cannot fire over more than 1 wall section at an enemy unit. British units can fire over a single wall, however, if there's an empty space between the firing unit and the wall that the unit's firing over. And you do subtract 1 from the die roll. Thus, if a player normally needed a 4, 5, or 6 to hit, it would need a 5 or 6 to hit on a target on the other side of the wall. British units are on the storehouse, which is roof zone H, or in the final redoubt, which is zone D. Other friendly units in other zones don't block their line of sight. Now, finally, the hospital zones, the final redoubt zone, and the storehouse zone may not be fired into by the British or Zulu players. Next is the Zulu random fire combat. After the British fire combat, the Zulu player rolls for random fire. They choose the zones that they wish to fire on, and they have a total of 6 die that they roll during each day turn and 4 during night turns, and they can fire on several zones as long as they don't exceed their total die roll. Thus, during the day, the Zulu player could roll 2 die against Zone A, 3 against Zone B, and 1 against Zone C. Now, they do 1 SP of damage for every 6 rolled, and if they roll against British units in Zone J with the water cart, they do 1 point of damage on a 5 or 6. Now, Zulu sniper fire cannot affect units in the hospital zone, the final redoubt, or the storehouse. Other than that, range and line of sight rules don't matter. Now, if hit, the British player allocates the hits to the units in the targeted zone, and if the British unit is reduced below 1, they're removed from play, and they can't come back as a replacement. Melee combat occurs when the Zulu and British units occupy adjacent zones, though it can't occur across diagonal zones. And also note that melee is simultaneous in this game, though it's not mandatory and one or both sides can decline to fight. Players can also melee from 2 or more zones as long as they're adjacent, and likewise they can split their melee into 2 adjacent zones. Now, the Zulu player completes their attack first, rolling a die for every Zulu strength points involved, and on a 6 they do damage to the British units. However, note that this damage is not applied until after the British players made their attack. The British player then rolls a die for every strength point involved, and on a 5 or 6, the Zulu player takes a strength point of damage. Now, after both sides have made their attack, they then apply damage to the counters of their choice. Now, if one side's units are cleared of an area at the end of melee, the other side can advance after combat into that area, within the restrictions for movement noted above. For example, a British player can't advance outside the compound. There are a couple of special situations that apply to melee. The British player melees at +1 die roll modifier on all melee rolls when meleeing across any wall section, or through any doors or windows. Thus, the British player hits on a 4, 5, and 6 across walls and from building zones. And a maximum of 8 strength points per side may melee from 1 zone into 1 building zone a turn, though players can combine melee from 2 or more zones, if possible, into an adjacent building zone. If it was 2 zones, it would be 8 strength points plus 8 strength points, or 16 strength points. Now, a maximum of 8 strength points may melee out of a building zone. After the melee phase, a British leader stacked with up to 4 strength points can conduct a bayonet charge into an adjacent zone, even if they or the zone have just participated in melee. Now, the bayonet charge is a continuous melee between the British units and the Zulus in that zone that continue in successive melee rounds until one side or the other is eliminated or the British player chooses to stop the attack. Now, beginning with the first turn of a Zulu melee attack on any of the hospital zones, the Zulu player rolls one die to see if the hospital catches on fire, and on a roll of 2 to 6, a fire begins. The Zulu player will then roll again on the next turn's hospital phase to see how the fire progresses. On a roll of 1, the fire doesn't progress. On a 2 to 4, the hospital takes 1 more fire point of damage. On a 5, it takes 2 points of damage. On a 6, 3 points. Now, when the hospital takes a total of 5 points of damage, it's burned down, and all units, British and Zulu, still in it are eliminated. Now, no hospital zones can be entered once the hospital is burned down. Also note that each Zulu leader counts as 1 strength point unit in combat, and it does not count against the 90 strength point limit of the Zulu player, nor zone limits, and if killed, they're permanently removed from the game. As I mentioned before, the British leaders are much the same. They count as 1 strength point, and if they're killed, they are eliminated. Now, the British win the game if they survive until the end and not allow the Zulu player to obtain their victory conditions. Zulu victory conditions are that the Zulu must eliminate British units until the total strength point of all British units falls below 10. The Zulu player earns 14 victory points. Now, victory points are awarded for terrain held at the end of a turn by the Zulu player and the victory point units eliminated. And players have to be in possession or at least to move through an area to control the victory points for that area. Now, Zulu victory points for terrain may pass back and forth between sides, except for the water cart and the hospital. Now, once the hospital burns down, the British can't reoccupy it. And once the Zulu players ended a turn in possession of the water cart, the British cannot retake it. It gets simply destroyed. So Zulu victory points are awarded as follows. Taking control of a hospital zone is worth 6 victory points. Taking control of a crawl is worth 4 victory points. The final readout is worth 10 victory points. The water cart is worth 5 victory points. However, once it's dark, the water cart zone is worth a decreasing number of victory points as shown on the bottom turn of the turn record chart. Now, the victory point units, which are the 6 soldiers in the hospital, are each worth 1 victory point if they're eliminated. Now, any turn that a Zulu player loses 47 or more strength points, it deducts a victory point from the victory point total. However, this deduction only applies if the Zulu player has earned that number or more victory points. Alrighty, this week's game, Victoria Cross, the Battle of Rorke's Drift. And I've gone ahead and set everything up here. I set for the British setup, I've just kind of tried to distribute them around. The 3 places I think are going to be important are here on top of the storehouse, because I can shoot everywhere and snipe with that. Right here with the crawl, I'm going to try to keep the Zulus from coming in this way, and then the hospital with the Zulus coming in over here. So hopefully that will work to keep everybody under control. The Zulus, I went ahead and put them on the edges, and then I went ahead and, since placing the units is the first move, with the leader units I can place them 1 ahead. So I placed them 1 ahead here, 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 and here. Put that there. Okay, so we can begin. This is the first turn. Got that here. And we start with British fire. So we're going to start with these 4 units here. And I'm just going to put whoops, that's the hide. We want to mark him moved and mark him moved. And I'm going to go ahead and fire right there. And I've got 3, 6, 9, 10. So 10 dice are firing, and they're at a range of 2, so they need a 4 or better. So this would be 3 or better, 4 or better, 5 or better. Okay, so they need a 4 or better with 10. So we're going to do our 8 here. And we get 2 hits, and then we need 2 more. So they just took 2 hits. Wow. Okay, I better put my loss table up here. So we're going to change this to let's move our losses first on here. And we're going to lose a step here. And then we're going to have to get a 3. Now, I'll probably, as the game progresses, I'll probably take a few breaks. I won't do it on camera, but I'll stop the video, take a few breaks to figure out how many Zulu units are on the board. You need to keep 90 on the board, and it's kind of hard to this helps. It helps to have the Zulu loss table, but keeping track and playing the game solitaire is kind of tough. So, okay, these guys I think we're going to fire again, and we are going to again. We've got 8, and we're firing 1, 2, so we need 4s or better. And I got 2, more hits. So this is going to be a loose step and a loose step. Okay, so 1, 2. I need to try to keep this in order. Right here, he can fire at these guys. So I'm going to fire with my 2, and I get a 4 and a 4, and this is a 3, 4. So those both hit, so that's 2 more. And we're going to move this to a 8. So lose a step and add 3. Okay. Right here, firing outside the crawl, 2, 6, 7, 8. And this time I need 4, so 1, 2, 3 they take. And lose a step and add 3. Boy, everybody's getting the same amount of damage. I'll make these guys move. Okay, and then right here, Dalton is going to fire here. They need 4s. And we've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's go 8. And we hit with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we can eliminate him. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and move this to the 10 bracket. I'll have this step because this guy will be coming back in next turn. Okay, over here, K can fire on 20. So we're going to go. This is going to be 3, 4. We need 5s or better. This I'm counting about basically minimums here. 3 or better here, 4 or better here, 5 or better here. So that's when I say 3, 4, 5, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, we've got 7, and we got 1, 2 hits. Again, we're back to that 8. Whoops. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, these guys have moved. These guys have moved. Or shot, I guess I should say shot. They've moved too. And I'm just going to use the move counter. Now these guys can fire down here. And there's going to have 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they're going to need 4s or better. So we'll have 8. And then we get 3 hits, 5 hits. Okay. And that's going to be a 19 there. And that ends the British fire phase. Now the Zulus can try to make their sniping attacks. And so what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to have 3 attacks on here and 3 attacks on the hospital. So we'll start with 3 attacks on the storage, the roof. And I got a 6, so that's 1 hit. And then 3 on the hospital. No 6s. Okay, so that's it for the Zulu sniping phase. Let's go back to my sequence of play. We've done Zulu fire and melee. We have nobody's in adjacent zones, so we don't have any melee yet. British Bayonet Charge, no. Hospital fire check and victory check, so no. And in terms of victory, I think what I'm going to do, generally I just play the game until you get to the last turn, or if the British get eliminated, the Zulus win. If you get to the last turn and there's less than 10 British units on the board, the Zulus win, and if there's more than 10, the British win. It's just an easier way. I think this whole, I guess if you're playing in a tournament or something, the scoring system would be fine. You can tell, I think, most of the people that follow my channel that I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the scoring stuff. I think it gets in the way of gameplay. Anyway, British can move. Okay, so we're going to drop down here. Everybody else looks good. I don't think anybody else has taken any damage yet. So that's it for the British unit, the British movement. Now then, the Zulu movement, we're going to put this back, and we have 19 points that I can bring back to play. So we're going to go in a 4. There's 18, and then 1. 19. Okay. Where am I going to bring him in? That's okay. I guess what I'll do first is I'll go ahead and move, and then and I think that's the easiest way to do it. So we'll move these guys in here, 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 and actually I think I'll move him, this leader, back, and the same thing back here. I think I'll move the leader back here, leader back here. So basically the normal Zulu unit will move their one, British unit will, or the Zulu leader will move back. Now then, I think I'll move him and do the same thing here. Reason being is I can use him next turn to move him too. So kind of use them to ferry these guys up. Okay, that's it for Zulu movement. Next will be the British fire phase again. Oh, I forgot to move my marker here. My turn marker. I do that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. I think British fire phase. And then I moved, like I said, I moved this, I dropped this guy down from the roof here so he can heal. And next turn he'll come out and back at 2. So, okay, so we're going to go 3, 6, 9, 10. And we fire, let's just go with, let's just do 5 twice. And this, I need 3s. So 5 twice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 the Zulus take. So they can only take 6 total, so they're going to go ahead and go here. And then we'll move back here and here. Okay. Up here on the roof, I think these 3 will fire on this guy. So that's 6. And they need 4s. Let's see, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they lose 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they've done their move, or firing. Yes, doesn't have a firing thing for like a lot of these do. Okay. Over here, Chard's fighting at the crawl, and I got 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. And I need 3s or better, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. And let's see, there's a 3 and a 5 is an 8, so I just need to take it down to 4. And we'll pull this over here. Might as well put that add step there. Okay, here we've got this guy. He can't fire on this one here. I did check the table on that earlier. But we can go 2, and then there's 3, 4, 5. I can fire 2, and I get 1 hit. So loose step. Yeah, I can fire out there at 20. So move him. Okay, here we've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we need 3s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, 3 is all I can take. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. And then here I've got 4, 5, 7. And I need 4s. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, and then here I've got 3, 7, 10. Let's go, and I need 3s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, well, easily that 5's eliminated. So we'll make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that's everybody that's fired. Now the Zulus can fire in, and again I think I'll take 3 here and 3 here. So 3 on the storage room roof, nothing, and 3 in the hospital zone, or the porch, nothing there. Okay. Now, for the first time in the game, we have a melee. I'm going to get a piece of paper and pencil, and I'm just write this down so that I can remember. So the Zulus, let's see, the British have 2, 3, 7, 8, and the Zulus have 4. So the British need 4, 5s, or 6, and they get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. And the Zulus have 4, and they need 6s, and they get 2. Okay, so the Zulus take 7, and they only have 4 to lose. Okay. And the British take 2, so we're going to loose step and loose step. And they can't advance, and they can't do a bayonet attack because there's nothing, they can't leave the compound. So that's it for them. Nobody else has anything. No other attacks, moves, nothing else. So we can go to turn 3. Okay, British are going to hang tight, except for we can add a step and move him up to the roof again. So Surgeon Reynolds was able to take care of him. Other than that, everybody's good. Now the Zulus have 31 they can bring back. So where am I going to bring them is the question. Oh, we need to move Zulus first. Okay, there's these guys. And then this guy's going to go in with 2. This guy's going to go in with 2. And this guy's going to go in with 2. And this guy's going to go in with 2. Hopefully we can overwhelm. Now I think kind of avoid that. That's kind of where the hang up is. I had 31 that I can bring back. So we're going to go 10, 20, 30, and we'll just have 1 there. Okay. And that would be the Zulu move. Now the British are going to try to fire. And so we start here from zone I again. And I'm going to have 3, 6, 9, 10. And we're going to fire with our 10. And they need 3s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I get 2 more. 5, 6. Okay, so the Zulus take 6. Let's move our... And we'll move this here. Okay. Here, I think I'll go ahead and fire down here on Youth Luanda. Let me just move these guys to show they fired. And I'm going to just do the single guy firing. So we're going to go with the 2, and I need a 3 or better. And there we go. And eliminates him. So he goes to the dead pool. Okay. Up on the roof, I'm going to check here. The roof is zone H. And zone H to zone to 9. H to 9 is... it's not. I can't. Is the roof H? Is that really H? I don't think I can hit anything. H to 9. Nope, it's not in the... these guys are hidden, I guess, under the wall. How about H to 21? I can hit there. Now I need 5s or 6s, and I've got 6 units up there. So we got 1 hit down here to hit this guy. So he's eliminated. Okay. Now here with Chard and his crew, I've got 1, 3, 5, 6, and I need 3s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so all 6 hit. So we're going to move this to a, let's see, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I need to take this to a 14. Okay. These guys moved, this moved, this guy moved, this guy moved. Okay, here this guy from B can shoot out to... he needs a 5, but I'm going to do it. Didn't get it. Okay. Here we've got 2, 6, 8, 9. So 8 and 1, and we need 3s or better. Oh, wow. 1, 2, that's 7, 8. Okay, so 3 more eliminated. And this guy's gone. Yeah, the Zulu leaders get wiped out pretty quickly in this. Okay, here we've got 2, 3, 7. And I need 3s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this takes him down to a 1. Okay, and then right here, I've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 against these. 10 is going to be 3. I need 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 8 more. And we had 24, and we need to take this to 18. So we're going to change this to, let's see, 3, 5, 18. Yeah, okay. And that ends the British fire phase. Now the Zulus get to fire. And Zulus get to fire with they get 2 6s. I'm going to say 3 here and 3 here. So we're going to go loose step, and actually we're going to do 2 against these guys. It makes sense with these guys being able to jump down. That really doesn't really do anything. So we're going to just say this guy's killed. No, actually the British can determine who's going to lose. So I'm going to lose steps there and there. Okay, and then we got some melee, and here we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against 15. So 6 against 15. So the 6 rolls, and they need 1, 2, 3, 4. They hit 5. The British hit 5, and then the Zulus are going to roll with 14. So every 6, 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. Ooh, okay. So both sides lost 5 and 5. Let's take the Zulus away first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lose step. And then here we've got to lose 5. So we've got 2, 3. Chard's just by himself in here. So kill, kill, and kill. So Chard's going to have to skedaddle. Okay, and then over here at the hospital, the British have 3, 6, 7, 8. And that's 1, 2, 3 hits for the Zulus, or against the Zulus. The Zulus have 18, so we're going to go, we'll just do 3 sets of 6. There's 1, 2, which has 2 hits. So 3 hits on the British. So both sides take 3 hits. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take 2 off of here. Loose step, and then loose step. There's our 3. I want to try to keep those guys. And then the Zulus lose 3 more. 3. And that's it for them fighting. Don't think I want to do a bayonet charge against everybody. Okay, that is it for turn. So we go to turn 4, and I'm going to stop there and check the Zulu reinforcements. Okay, we are back with turn 4 here, and let's see. So we need to move the Brits first. I think we're going to pull back 2 and here. Actually, I think I'll go right here and move a guy here. Nobody's really coming up. I don't think I have any Zulus coming in over here right now, so I think it's time to move these guys. Here and here. And I'm going to move with Bourne here. I think we'll be able to hold one more turn here at the hospital, and then we'll probably have to pull back into the hospital itself. And these guys will take these guys out, but again, I want to kind of keep the hospital flowing. I think that's all for the Brits. Let's see, anybody... This guy can move here, and I'll move this guy here. We'll move those back and forth. This guy, I can try to get him to the aid station. Okay, and that's the British move. Now then, the Zulus move. Now I went ahead and did the math here, and I was actually off by 1. I had 36 points that I thought the Zulus were owed, but they were owed 35, so not too bad, actually. So we'll move this back, and I've got my Zulu units set up here. We're going to move 1 here. Whoops, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to move, let me move my Zulu units into place. Okay, there. Okay, now move my reinforcements, and we'll move 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and keep going at the hospital. Okay, and then this guy's going to go over here. I think everybody's been moved, so that's it for the move. Now we can do our firing. Now, I'm not sure if these guys can fire. If B can fire on 9, let's just see. B cannot. Okay. Actually, let's start up. Let's just kind of keep everybody in the order they've been going. So these 6 are going to fire over here on this 10. So they need 3, 4, 5. Minimum of 5, and they've got 6 that they can fire with, and they get 3 hits. So already this guy is 1, 2, 3, and this guy's going to be at a 7. There we go. Okay, up here on the... They can fire now. I'm going to do a firing... This is 2, over here it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, wait, these are going to be what we're aiming at. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And I need 4s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And that's going to take him down to 2. Okay, over here, can B fire on 9? Let me double check that again. I think no. And no, you can't. Okay. Oh, I didn't plop. These guys can plop over the wall. I'll move those part of the Zulu move. They can move over that wall, so. Okay. Here we have 4. So this would let them fire, because, yeah. And we're going to go with a fire of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we need 3s or better. And that's all 5 of them hit. So this guy's eliminated. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll put a 10 there. And then over here, we've got 6, 7. And we need 4s or better. And we get 1, 2, 3 hits. So out of 20, 3 hits. Let's see, we need 17. So we're going to remove this to a 5. And bring in a 2. There we go. Okay, and then this guy's going to get wiped out. I think what I'll do, I'll have these guys fire, and these guys fire. So we'll start with these 2 firing on him. And it's 2, and I need a 3 or better. And I got it. So there's 1 gone there. And then this 4, 7, 8 is going to fire against this guy. So that's a 3, 4. They need a 5 or better with an 8. And we got 1, 2, 3 hits. 3 hits. And that's going to be him. Take him to a 7. And bring in a 2. And this is easier when you play the physical game. I've got the physical game and it has little blocks, which is kind of nice. Okay. Now here we're going to fire, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we need 3s or better. And that's 6 hits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 10, 13, 15. I need to take this to 9. Oops, lose step, and then add step, and take this guy off. Okay. Okay, and then those guys have moved, so they're done, and I think that's it for the British moves. Now the Zulus are going to fire into the compound. I think I'll fire all 6 against here. And I get nothing, so it didn't matter anyway. Okay. We go with melee, and we'll start with melee down here. And we've got 2, 4, 5. And so we need, that's 1 hit for the British. And the Zulus get 4 shots, and they get nothing. So this is down to a 3. And yeah, basically the wave tactics really do kind of figure in here. Okay, here we have a 9, 10, and the Brits have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the Brits are going to go with a 6, and they get 2 shots. And the Zulus have a 10, and they get 1. They get 1 shot. So loose steps, and then the Zulus take 2. I think as the British, I'm going to go ahead and do a bayonet attack, and that's going to lock them in. So we'll go ahead and do that here. And so the British have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they get 2 hits. The Zulus have 8, and they get 3 hits. Okay. So we're going to take a loss here, and reduce him by 1. And then the Zulus take 2 hits, so they're going to be here and here. Okay. Yeah, at that point, I think the British are they're going to give up with the bayonet charge. So that will end that. Is there anything else I'm missing? Melee, British bayonet, hospital fire. Nope. Victory check. Nope. Okay. So we go to turn 5. And let's see, the British, moving around. I think at this point I'm going to move back into the hospital. I want to stay on the roof here. These guys are going to stay. These guys are going to stay. These guys are going to stay. So that's the British move. Now the Zulus have 29 coming back. And we're going to go 10. 20, and I need 9. 4, 8, 9. Okay, where's these guys going to come in? Oh, let's put this guy. Go back. Let's move forward here. So move these guys in here. This guy here. These 2 here. This guy here. These guys here. And these guys here. Okay, then bring in, I think I'll bring in a 10 here, a 10 here, and then my 9 up there. Okay. Yeah, I might bring a 4 here. Okay. There we go. Now the Zulus are back. British moves. On the British move, I think I'll move that guy there. That's the one guy going to move him. So, okay, now there we go. We got everybody moved. Let's go with fire. And we'll start here. I've got 6 to 2. Let's see. So we have 6, and I need 4s or better. 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be these 2. Here I've got these 8, and we're going to go 8. And I need 4s or better. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here I've got a 1 and 5, and I need 3s, and I get 4 down, so there's 3 there. And then here I've got 7, and I need 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remove 4. Okay. And then here I've got, I think I'll use these guys here to fire up into the hospital. And these guys to fire here. So we got 7, and I need 4s here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's see, this is just down to a 1. And this guy's removed. And then these 2 are going to fire on him, and that's going to be 2, and I need 3s. Nothing. Okay. And then inside the, we're going to fire out with 2, and I get 2 hits. And that's going to be to a 3. Add step. Okay. And I think everybody's fired. Okay, now, next step is for the Zulus to fire in. Where am I going to? I can't shoot at these guys anymore because they're in the hospital. They're on the porch. I think I will fire. I think I'll fire right down here. I think all 6 of them are going to fire into that zone. And nothing. Okay. Doesn't seem like the Zulus ever have much luck with that. So, okay. Now we can go to melee. And we're going to melee with the Zulus here. And the British have 4, 5, 6, 7. And they get 3 hits. The Zulus have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And they get 3 hits. Okay, so both sides get 3 hits here. Let's take this off. And this off. And then the loose step, and loose step. Okay. And the attrition's they're gonna start feeling it. Okay, here they're gonna melee with 2, and they get nothing. Okay, they needed a 4 through 6. Zulus are gonna go with a 4, and they bring down him. So Bromhead's left by himself in the hospital. Now we made an attack on the hospital first unit, so that means we check for fires. And let's see here. I gotta check my rules. Let me check my rule thing here. First turn, you need a 2 to 6 for it to catch fire. Okay, so we roll a d6 and get a 1. So no, it doesn't catch fire. Okay, and that, I think, is going to end the turn. So we go to the next turn. And the Brits are going to try to pull back a little bit. Let's see, is anybody... This guy's going to move here. I can still fire from up here. I think I can hit these guys. can't do much here. I think I'll move forward here into A. Hospital Bromhead's going to try to pick this guy up. Now they can only move one, so I'm going to move M to L, carrying him. And don't think I'm going to save anybody else too much. So, okay. Now then, the Zulus can come back with 22. So there's my 10, and I need 2. Oh, let's move our Zulus first. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to move into the building. Oh, and he can only move 1 in the building. Okay. Now, Bromhead will be next to him, so here, 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 here. Everybody's moved. Now bringing in my 20s. I think I'll bring in 1 up here. We're going to bring in 1 at the... I think I'll bring in 1 here, and we'll bring in some here, just in case. I'll bring him in here. Be nice to cut them off, so. Okay, that's the Zulu move. British fire phase. I'm pretty sure I can fire in the hospital with Bromhead. So let's do that with a 1. And he gets a 6, so he reduces the Zulus by 1. Okay, move him. These guys are going to fire 2 against this Zulu unit up here and 2 against this guy here. So we'll go with these first 2, and they get a 2 and 3, so that's adjacent. So he's now at a 9. Okay, and here we have 7. I should have had this guy fire. I think I'll have this guy fire here. This guy with 3 will fire, and that's going to eliminate him. And then this guy with 4 will fire, and he needs a 4 or better, so 1, 2. So that should be an 8. Okay. Down here, these 3 are going to fire on this guy. So we have 4, and I need a 3 or better, so that's 2 hits. So this guy becomes an 8. And then these 4 can fire. Oh, I think I'll fire up here. We're going to go. I think all 4 are going to fire on this guy. So we need 4s. Let's see, that's 8 firing, and I get 1, 2, 3. So this guy's now at a 7. Okay, then these, I'm going to fire these 3 here against him, and that's going to eliminate him. And then these 3 against these guys. So this is a 3, 4. They need a 5 or 6. And they got 1 hit. Okay, so loose step. Okay, and then finally, we've got 2, 4, 5, and I need 4s or better. And we get 3 hits. So this takes him down to 1. Okay, and I think everybody's fired that can fire. Now we go with melee, and this is going to be the one we want to see if Bromhead survives. So Bromhead has a 1, and he needs a 4, 5, or 6, and he gets a 3, and then we get 3 against him, and they need a 6. So they don't, the Zulus don't get him. Okay, right here, we've got a 4 and a 5 and 9. And that's 2 hits. Okay, 2 hits for the Zulus. And then the British have 4, 7, 8, 9. And they need a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they take the Zulus take 4 more. Okay, down here, I've got a 3, 4. Oh, the Zulus got 2. I forgot the Zulus had 2, so we can loose step. Okay. Now then, right here we have 2, 3, 4. And the British get 3. The Zulus get 9. 1 hit. Okay, and then over here we have 2, 4, 5. That's 3 hits, and the Zulus get 1. Nothing. Okay, so that's there. And that ends that. I hope I got this one right. I may have double counted on one of these, but that's okay. You get the idea. Okay, and then I forgot to also make the Zulu sniping attack. So let's do that. I think I'll put them in. I think I'll go after this guy, and I think we'll go 2 shots against him and 4 against him. So let's go 2 shots in here. Okay, that kills him. And then 4 shots against these guys. Nothing. Okay. Hospital. How's things going with the hospital? See if it's catching on fire. And it does not. Okay, these guys are still moving in there and no fire yet. Anything else? I don't think we're going to keep bayonet attacks. So I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to go on to the next turn. That's turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. So turn 7. And I'm going to pause it there and check my Zulu counters. Okay, so doing the math here, let's see, the Zulus are going to get 23 units back, but let's go ahead and move British units first of all. Any injured guys? I'll try to move him. He can move here. Man, I don't know. Nobody's coming this way, so I think I'm going to go here. And I think they can move up to 8 with him. That's right. So we're going to move those guys here with Chard. This guy's moved in place here. Bromhead is going to take this guy out here. And he can only move 1. It's a tough situation because he could get sniped here. These guys are going to have to stay in place, and I think we're going to stay in place everywhere else. So, actually, I might move a guy in here because if he gets sniped, we can take that damage there. So, keep Bromhead from getting killed. Okay, that's it for the help me out here. The British. Okay. Now, I'm going to split these guys. Going to move him down to 1 and bring in another 1 here. And then I'm going to move these guys here and here so that they're... And then I'll move him in to M. These guys can move in here and him here. Forward here. Forward here. Forward here. And we'll move forward here. And then I'm going to bring in my 20. I think I'll bring in 1 here. 1 here. And 1 here. Okay. So there's all the Zulus have been brought in. I've moved these guys, and now these guys can be killed off. And I guess it's time for firing. So we'll start with these guys firing here. And I got 3 and I need 4s or better. And I get 2. So out of 6, we'll there's our 4. Okay. And then these 4 are going to attack here, and they need 4s. Actually, I think I can move these 2 here, and then here I'll fire over this wall. Let's see. Let me check and see here. This is a 3, 4, 5, 4. So I need 6s to hit here with those 4. I think I'll do that. So we're gonna have first of all these 2, and they need 4s. 4 at 4, and they get 3 hits. So that's gonna lose a step and take him off. Okay, and then here I need 6s, and I got 1, so that works. And there's 1. Okay. I don't think this guy moved. I think I didn't move him. He moves in there. Okay. We'll give the British the benefit of the doubt. Okay, here we have 3, 5, 6, 7, and they need 3s or better. And they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That leaves him with just 1. Okay, and then nothing here, nothing here. And then here I've got these 2 are going to fire in here. Nothing. Okay, and then this 5, and I need 3s. 1, 2 hits. Okay. And there we go. Okay, that's the British fire phase. We now move with the Zulu fire phase, and of course we'll fire in here. And I'm gonna fire all 6 shots into J, and I need 5 or 6 on that. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, it eliminates him, but it doesn't get Bromhead. Okay, and that's it for the for them. Now the I can't remember whether it's the, let's see, melee. Melee's next, and then the fire check. Okay, so we'll start down here with melee. This should be pretty easy. Chard, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I think that's, yeah, easily going to take him out and him out. So, but we do have 2 attacks from the Zulus, and they get nothing. So they're out. And okay, here we've got, I think I'll go ahead and 2 attacks here and 2 attacks here. And these 5 are going to go against the Zulus 6. So 5, and we get 1. And the Zulu have 6, and they get 1. So both sides get 1 there. And he's going to get 1. Okay, and then we have 2 against 15. So we'll go with 2. And we get a 6 and a 3. So that's 1 hit. And the Zulus get 15. So they get 7. There's 3 hits and an 8. 4 hits. So kills them off. Born dies. Okay, and then that's it for melee. Now we check to see if the hospital's burning, and we get a 5. So this time it finally burns. So we can say it's on fire. Okay, and that ends turn. So we go to this next turn. That's turn, I think, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, last turn of the day. So then it'll be nighttime. Okay. British are I'm gonna add a step. And right now I think we're gonna have to try to make that final stand. So we'll stay up here. Well, I'll keep one, and he'll come in here. He'll come in here with him, and then these guys will come here. Okay, and that's the British move. Zulu's move, and he's going to go. He doesn't really need to do anything. Oh, let's bring him. He goes here. These guys are going to hop the fence here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And then here we can move these guys in. These guys are going to move in, and Ubloko. Now, I think he's leaving the hospital, whether he gets the 2 or not. I'm going to say he does. And then O's going into M. Okay. So the Zulus are kind of bunched up here. And they've got one in here, one in here. Okay. And the hospital's burning. I wish I had a marker for that, but okay. We go with fire, and he's going to fire over here with 2 shots and a 6 and a 2, so that eliminates him. Oh, I forgot to hold on a second before I forget. 17 units come back in. Add step. Don't want to lose that. Where do I want to bring him in? I think we'll bring him in here. Okay. Now then, these 4 are going to attack. They need to, and they easily do it. So there's 1. Can't really do much there. I don't think C can fire on 16. Let's check and see. C16, nope. Okay. Can C fire on... I can't fire through 7. I don't think they can fire on anybody. Okay. So we've got fire here, and we've got fire here. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we need a 6 and a 7, and we need 3s or better. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we can move him to there and there, and we're just going to go there. That's easy. So these guys have moved, and then these guys here can move at 3, 4, and they get 1 hit. Okay. Now we need to see Zulus are going to shoot in. I think we'll shoot. I think we're just going to try to. We'll do 2 here and 4 here. So let's start with our 2, nothing, and then the 4, nothing. Okay, so that doesn't do anything. We go to our melee phase, and the British are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That should have been a 6 and a 5. Okay, earlier. A 6 and a 5. So they get 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, which will eliminate the Zulus. But the Zulus get 3 shots and nothing. So these guys are eliminated. 2 and 1. And that's 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then here meleeing 3, 4. And they get 2 hits. And the Zulus have 4, 10, 14, 24, 25. Okay, 25. So 3 8s and a 1. 1, that's 2 hits. 2, that's 4 hits. That's 6 hits and a 1. So that's easily going to... That was 6 hits against them, so this guy's killed, Bromhead's killed, and this guy's killed. And we can advance after combat in that case. So we're going to hop the wall. Okay. And that ends melee. Let's check on the fire. And the fire, I'm going to roll a d6, and I get a 2. So that's 1 more point of fire damage. And that, I think, ends the turn. So we can go to the next turn. And it's a night turn. This guy's going to get a add a step. Let's see. This guy's going to move here. And Chard is going to lead a... actually, he's going to stay here. He's not, because Chard's going to do a... not the bayonet, the volley fire, which we can do here. So we'll do volley fire here, and I think you can do it with 4, 2, 4, 8, 6, 8. Okay, I guess that guy could move. I'm going to move him, and Dalton's there. So, okay, so these guys are moved, or they've done their volley fire. These guys are going to stay up on the roof and fire down. And the Zulus get 14 points. You notice the Zulus are going to have fewer guys coming in. Let's move our Zulus forward here and here and here, here, and then bring in our, and then these guys are here, here, and here, and then 14 points. Okay, and I think I'll bring him in. This is going to be just as good a place as any to bring him in. So, okay, this is kind of like the movie at the end. And I've also got to remember that when they melee 5 and 6, not 4, 5, and 6, because it's not over a wall. So, got to try to remember that. Let's start firing here. We have 4, and we need a 3 or better, and we get 2 hits. Okay, so we're going to... And these guys go 2 here, move that guy back. Forgot about those guys. Okay, here I'm going to fire with 2, 4, 5. And I get 1, 2, 3 hits. Okay. And then I can do that volley fire. So let's check out. So volley fire is British fire, volley fire. No more than 4. The leader and soldiers must not have moved that turn, and they can't fire over a wall, and you roll triple dice. And you don't add the +1 for a leader. Okay, so we're going to have 2, 4. I guess we have 6. And is it no more than 8? Okay, no more than 4. Okay, so this guy's just going to have to sit on his hands. I guess we could say he moved, but... So 4 times... triple. Okay, so 4 is going to be 12 die. And we need 3s or better. And we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so loose step and loose step. I didn't do that very cleanly, so sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought it was 8 points on the strength points, but that's okay. Okay. And so that ends the fire phase. Now we're going to do the Zulu fire phase, and they just get four shots. And let's fire down here onto Chard and Dalton. And they get nothing. Okay, now then we can go with our melee attack, and so we'll start by meleeing across. The British will attempt to melee across here, and we got 4, 5, 6, and they get 2 hits. 1, 2, okay, and then these guys are going to melee across here. I don't think these guys can melee in. 2, 4, 6, 7 doesn't make sense. Okay, so 7. Oh, and these guys they get a melee back. I forgot about them meleeing back. I need to relax here. Let's see, 11. 1, 2, nothing. Okay. Did that get was there a 6? No, there was no 6. I didn't think there was. Okay, now then do these guys. 2, 4, 6, 7. And they need a 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3. And the Zulus get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 5, a 13. So we'll go 6 and 7. 6, there's 1, and there's 7. So there's 2. Okay, and that ends the turn. Oh, and then the fire phase. Forget the fire phase. We roll a 5, which is 2 more, and then we can go to the next turn. Okay. For the next turn, the Zulus will bring back 5. But let's see. Okay, this guy, time to move out. Okay, he's going to move out here, here, and here. These guys are going to move into here, so I can get that bonus for firing across. And I can't be fired on by sniping fire there too, so that's a good thing about the readout. That's it. Let's see how many I got. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I still have 10. So, okay, Zulus are going to move. 1. These guys will move into the compound. Him there. These guys here. And then these guys, I think, will move here. Okay. Okay, British can fire, and they're going to have 2, 4, 6. Okay, they're firing with 6. And they get a 5. That's all they got. Oh, wow. Okay, that's just 1 hit. Loose step. Oh, and I didn't bring back this guy here. That's okay. Not going to make a big difference, because I think things are pretty much going to be over in the next turn or 2. Okay, up here, 2, 4 will fire. Need 3 or better, and they get 3 hits. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3. Let's move that to 5. Okay. I think I've got those guys back to where they were. And then right here we're going to fire. And we need a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so they're firing with 10. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4... 6, 7, 8. Okay, wow. 1, let's see, 8, 5, and 8 is 13. 1, 2, 3. Now I need to lose 5. Lose steps 5. Okay. And now we can go with the Zulus can attack. They can fire down into the compound, and they get 1, 6. So that's going to reduce this guy down. Lose a step. And then we can do a melee. And let's see, they've got 2, let's see, 2, 4, they have 6 against the 8 for the Zulus. So we start with the 6, and we need a 4, 5, or 6. So we got 1, 2, 3 against the Zulus. Zulus get a 7, 8, and they get 3 hits. Okay, so that takes out Dalton, or wait, no. Kill, and then lose a step. Okay, Chard and Dalton are still in there. Okay, right here, we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And of that 9, we have to make a 5 or 6. So we're going to go 8. There's 1, 2, 3, and 1 is 4. Okay, Zulus take 4, and the Zulus get 15. So we're just going to go 7 and 8. There's 1 hit down. Okay. And then the Zulus take 4. Loose step, loose step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And that's it. And then we see if I could try to do a. I could do a. Nah, I'm not gonna. I was thinking about doing a bayonet charge, but we'll not do that. So, okay. Let's see. Check the hospital. And gets a 5. So the hospital burns down, and this guy's killed off. Okay. We move to the next step, or next turn. And these guys can't really do anything. They're pretty much stuck here. Let's see if I have, I need to see if I have 10 left. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. I've got 13 left. Okay. So they're, Zulus are going to bring on, I don't know, let's see, 17. Adds, let's see, loose step, there's 10. $14. Okay, there's our 17. Let's go ahead and bring guys in. So these guys are going to hop the barrier. He's going to come in here. He's going to come in here. Okay. And these guys are coming in down here. Won't make a big difference. Now we can fire down. And I think I'll move one of the 10s in here. Okay. 2, 4. I'm going to do 4 against these guys. And I get 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Let's move this guy back. Let's see, 5, and we're going to take this down to 1. Loose step. Okay, those guys have gone. These guys are going to fire, and I think I'll fire into this group. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And I need 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the Zulus are at 10 there, and they lose 6. Let's just go down a step, and then we'll take 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And then here we have 1, or let's see how much is left. 2, 3, 4. And I need 6. I make 2 more. And then the Zulus get to go. Or no, we go to melee. Oh, no, we get to our sniping. We got 4 die. Let's go. I can only go into these. So I could go guys on the roof, but I'll just go down there. Okay, so I got a 6. That's going to be a step loss. And then here we're going to go against these guys. And I have 1, 2, 3. And I need 4 better. I get 1. Okay. Zulus have 11. Let's go with 5 and 6. There's 3 hits, so that's going to take out those 3. And kill those guys. And then here I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I need 5s or 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the Zulus go with 25. So we're going to go 8 3 times and a 1. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 6s. And 1. Okay. So they lose 3. Kill and kill. And then the Zulus lost 4. We're just going to take this guy to a 1. I don't think I'll keep track of... At this point, I don't think I need to keep track of the losses because they're not going to make it in time. Okay. And actually, that ends the game because I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So that takes me less than 10 strength points. And I guess you could go ahead and you could do all the victory point determination and play it to the victory points, but here's the scoring. But I'm not going to go do all that. It's a little bit overwrought like most games, but anyway, I'd also forgot these guys down here. I didn't use them, which they should have. So that's what I've got for the week. I've got one more Rorke's Drift game next week, Zulus on the Ramparts, and I'll be doing that one, which is a little bit different. It's got more of a card mechanism, a little more of a gamey type game, but we'll play it and see how it goes. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching as always. Thanks a lot, and we will talk to you later. Bye.